Reading from Srila Prabhupada, Chapter 8. Prabhupada seemed satisfied that at least some construction was always going on. He asked that Mr. Sethi build a brick wall around the property, even though parts of the wall were sometimes torn down at night by Gundas. Build something, Prabhupada said, even if it's just one brick, but go ahead with construction. Just as when in acquiring the Bombay property, Prabhupada had understood the great value of possession even before attaining the deed. So with construction, he insisted to go ahead even without full permission. The work must begin, Prabhupada says, whether you have got sufficient men and bricks or not. Begin even little, so it can be understood that you have begun. Srila Prabhupada had received word from Vrindavan that the newly elected governor of Uttar Pradesh, Dr. Channa Reddy, had visited the temple site. Hearing this, Prabhupada decided to invite him for the rescheduled opening of the Krishna Balaram Mandir. Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So this is Canto 6, Chapter 2, Text 11. Now, Nishkritai, Uditai, Rama, Adivis, Tata, Vishuddhati, Bhagavan, Tatadevi, Yatha, Hare, Nama, Padai, Tat, Uttamashloka,
Pulobarambakam,
Nishkitai Uditai Brahmavadivis, Tata Vishuddhati Bhagavan Tatadevi, Yatha Hare Nama Padai Hritai, Taduttama Gunapalambakam, Nanishkritai Uditai Brahmavadivis, Tata Vishuddhati Bhagavan Vratadevis, Yatha Hare Nama Padai Hritai, Taduttama Shloka Gunapalambakam,
Taduttamashloka Palambakambakam.
Nanishkitai uditai brahmavadibis.
Manishkitai uditai brahmavadibis.
Yatha vishuddhati agavan vritadibis.
Yatha vishuddhati agavan vritadibis.
Yatha harer nama padayudaritai.
Yatha harinama padayudahritai.
Taduttama shloka gunopalambakam.
Taduttamashloka gunopalambakam. Naniskritai uditai brahmavadibis.
Nanishkitai uditai brahmavadibis.
Tata vishuddhati agavan vritadibis.
Yatha vishuddhati agavan vritadibis.
Yatha harinama padayudahritai.
Yatha harer nama padayudaritai.
Tat uttamashloka gunopalambakam.
Taduttama shloka gunopalambakam.
Nanishkitai uditai brahmavadibis.
Manishkitai uditai brahmavadibis.
Tata vishuddhati agavan vritadibis.
Vishuddhati agavan vritadibis.
Yatha harinama padayudaritai.
Yatha harinama padayudahritai.
Taduttamashloka gunopalambakam.
Tat uttamashloka gunopalambakam. Nanishkitai uditai brahmavadibis. Tata vishuddhati agavan vritadibis. Yatha harinama padayudahritai. Taduttamashloka gunopalambakam. Nanishkitai uditai brahmavadibis. Tata vishuddhati agavan vritadibis. Yatha harinama padayudahritai. Taduttamashloka gunopalambakam. Not Nishkritai,
by the processes of atonement.
by the processes of atonement.
Buddhitai,
Described.
Brahmavadibi,
Brahmavadibi,
by learned scholars such as Manu.
the learned scholars such as Manu. Tata,
To that extent,
to that extent,
Shuddhati
Vishuddhati
becomes purified.
becomes purified.
Agavan,
Agavan,
a sinful man.
a sinful man.
Vrata Adibi,
Vrata Adibi,
by observing the vows and regulative principles.
by observing the vows and regulative principles.
Yatha,
Yatha, as
Hare,
Hare,
of Lord Hari.
of Lord Hari.
Namapadai,
Namapadai,
by the syllables of the holy name.
by the syllables of the holy name.
Udaditai,
Udavritai,
chanted.
chanted.
Tat,
That
that. Uttamashloka,
Uttamashloka,
of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Guna,
Guna,
of the transcendental qualities.
of the transcendental qualities.
Upalambakam,
Umpalambakam,
reminding one.
reminding one.
Translation. By following the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies or undergoing atonement, sinful men do not become as purified as by chanting once the holy name of Lord Hari. Although ritualistic atonement may free one from sinful reactions, it does not awaken devotional service, unlike the chanting of the Lord's names, which reminds one of the Lord's fame, qualities, attributes, pastimes, and character. Please repeat. By following the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies,
We follow the ritualistic ceremonies
or undergoing atonement,
or undergoing atonement.
sinful men do not become as purified
Sinful man does not become as purified
as by chanting once the holy name of Lord Hari.
as by chanting once the holy name of Lord Hari.
Although ritualistic atonement may free one from sinful reactions,
Sinful reactions.
it does not awaken devotional service,
It does not awaken devotional service,
unlike the chanting of the Lord's names.
unlike the chanting of the Lord's name.
which reminds one of the Lord's fame,
which reminds us of the Lord's name,
qualities, attributes, pastimes
and paraphernalia.
Jai. Shri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments that the chanting of the holy name of the Lord has special significance that distinguishes it from the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies of atonement for severe, more severe, or most severe sinful action. There are 20 types of religious scriptures called Dharma Shastras, beginning with the Manasamhita and Parasharasamhita. And herein it is stressed that although one may become free from the reactions of the most sinful activities by following the religious principles of the scriptures, this cannot promote a sinful man to the stage of loving service to the Lord. On the other hand, chanting the holy name of the Lord even once not only frees one immediately from the reactions of the greatest sins, but also raises one to the platform of rendering loving service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is described as Uttama Shloka, because he is famous for his glorious activities. Thus one serves the Lord by remembering his form, his attributes and pastimes. Shri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that this is all possible simply by chanting the Lord's holy name, because of the Lord's omnipotence. What cannot be achieved through the performance of Vedic rituals can be easily achieved through the chanting of the Lord's holy name. To chant the holy name and dance in ecstasy is so easy and sublime that one can achieve all the benefits of spiritual life simply by following this process. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu declares, Param Vijayati Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. All goes to Shri Krishna Sankirtan. The Sankirtan movement we have started offers the best process for becoming purified of all sinful reactions and coming immediately to the platform of spiritual life. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhakti. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Rama. While following Vedic ritualistic ceremonies or undergoing atonement, sinful men do not become as purified as by chanting once the holy name of Lord Hari. Although ritualistic atonement may free one from sinful reactions, it does not awaken devotional service. Unlike the chanting the Lord's names, which reminds one of the Lord's attributes, pastimes, and paraphernalia. So this verse is in the chapter where Arjuna is being delivered by the Vishnu Dutas. And it's a very nice pastime, nice story how the holy names released Arjuna from hellish conditions simply with one utterance of Narayan. So here in the purport of Prabhupada is saying by performing Vedic ritualistic ceremonies, one may become free from sinful reactions, but they do not promote a sinful man to the stage of loving service to the Lord. So, although they get free from the sinful reactions, it doesn't enable them to actually gain something positive. So they get free from the sinful reactions, but they'll perform the sinful reactions again because that sinful tendency is still in the heart. So, but actually, by chanting even once the holy name of the Lord, it can promote a sinful man, it can free him from all sinful reactions, and also, above that, bring him to the stage of devotional service. So chanting the holy name and dancing, it's such an easy, sublime process that Lord Chaitanya has introduced such a wonderful process, and Lochandas Thakur has described it as Kevala Ananda Kanda, which is full of bliss and joy, it's simply joyfully performed. So chanting, dancing, feasting, just by this we achieve all benefits of spiritual life. And Lord Chaitanya is saying this Shastra prayers that the first verse he's saying Chetadarpana Marjana, Bhavamahadavni Nirvapanam Shreya Kairava Chantika Vitanam Vidyavada Jivanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Pratipadam Purnamrita Swadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Paramajayati Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. All goes to Shri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. The Sankirtan movement is a prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction. It is the light of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. So in this one, the very first verse of the Shastakam, Lord Chaitanya has glorified all the benefits of chanting the holy names. And there's 7 benefits here. So the first one is, it cleanses the heart of all the dust. This is Chetadarpana Marjana. And it's described that this dust is like lust, anger, greed, pride, all these is called lust dust. And so by this process, one cleanses the mirror of the heart, frees off all the dust of millions of lifetimes. And the second glory is that it extinguishes the fire of conditional life. So the fire is considered like the threefold miseries. There's the 3 kleshas, there's the miseries arising from the body, our own body and mind, from other living entities, from natural disasters, phenomena. So these are all like a fire, and the holy name is extinguishing this fire from like a rainstorm. So when there's a rainstorm, then any fire gets extinguished. So that's what the holy name is doing. It extinguishes these fire and material sufferings. And then there's the third one is the benediction moon. And the holy name is like a beautiful moon, and it's radiating benedictions and awakens the loving qualities of the soul. So it's like a soothing, beautiful moon, and it's awakening all the loving qualities of the soul. And the fourth one is that it awakens real knowledge, Vidyavada Jivanam. So complete surrender, this is actually the expression of knowledge of the soul. So the true nature of the soul is full of knowledge, and this is actually awakened by complete surrender of the soul. So this is what the holy name awakens. And then also it's Anandam Buddhivardhanam, it's expanding ocean of bliss. So when we surrender to Krishna, then we experience an ocean of transcendental ecstasy, we experience that bliss, we experience Krishna's name, his qualities, his glories, his power, his fame. And this awakens this expanding bliss, this ocean of bliss. And the sixth glory is Sarvatma Snapanam, purifying pleasure. So Krishna conscious pleasure, chanting and hearing Krishna's names and glories, it actually purifies the heart of all contamination. Whereas material pleasures actually just pollute the heart, they degrade us. So this chanting purifies our heart. And the seventh one is victory of revolution, Paramajayati Shri Krishna Sankirtan. And so when the devotee chants, it creates victory of revolution over the world. It spreads through wherever we meet, it spreads to the world. And so we become victorious over Maya. So these are the 7 glories of the holy name in the very first verse of the Shikshashtakam. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he gives a synopsis where each verse of the Shikshashtakam represents a different stage of devotional service from Shraddha to Prema. So the first verse is actually referring to Shraddha, which is faith. When we get faith, we get free from so much material misery, we get so much happiness. So this is the very first stage of devotional service. So the next stage, the next verse that Shikshastakam refers to the stages of Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana, Kriya, Nata, and Nivritti, all three in the second verse of the Shikshastakam. And that's Nam Namakari Bahudan Nija Sarva Shakti Tatripta Namayata Smarni Nakalaham Etadrishita Kripa Bhagavan Mamapi Daivam Itusham Iha Jaganam Rava. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. They are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. So here, although the Lord has hundreds and thousands of names, millions of names like Krishna and Govinda, and although he's invested so much energy, transcendental energy in his names, and they're not even hard and fast rules for chanting the names, and the Lord is so easily approachable through his holy names, but we are so unfortunate that we have no attraction for them. This is the stage of Namaparad, because we're struggling with our anarthas, and there's very little taste for chanting holy names. We just use a ritual, it's a ritualistic ceremony every morning, we chant the holy names. We struggle to stay awake. We're up and down in our japa, and we don't have a taste. And so this is because of Namaparad. So Namaparad is because we're having difficulty with the 10 offences. We're struggling to guard against the 10 offences, against the holy name. So there's 3 obstacles to overcome, to do japa with attention. So one of them is you have to get free from offences. Actually, the first one is thirst for enjoyment. It's attachment and aversion to material things, to enjoyment. It really is a hard thing to overcome, especially at the very beginning. And then there's weakness of heart. Can't give up the attachment and aversion. You succumb to it. And then there's offences. If we're not purposefully committing the offences, then the holy name will counteract the offences. But if we're purposefully committing them, then it's very difficult to get free from Namaparad. So we need to become free from the 10 offences against the holy name and aspire as quickly as possible to get to the stage of Namabhas. And the foremost offence, is actually inattentiveness. It's actually the root cause of all the other offences. By being inattentive to the holy name, we'll end up committing all the other offences. So at least this is the one we have to really focus on, because if we are actually attentive to the holy name, then we won't, it's very unlikely we'll commit the other offences. So the mind, it does 2 things. It's hankering and lamenting. So when we're chanting japa, we're either thinking of the past, what we've done, and lamenting for it, or we're thinking of the future, hankering for something. But we're actually are we ever in the present? So we have to learn to live in the present. So when you're chanting japa, and when we're chanting japa, we have to be in the present, and we have to want to realize Krishna is not different from his name. We have to have that desire. Otherwise, it's going to be very, very difficult and troublesome. So we want our japa to be actually a joyful experience, not a torture. So we need to be really present when we're chanting the holy name, and actually not in the past or the future, but actually in the present. And another way to get free from Namaparad is by repentance, by feeling remorse for what any aparads we performed, any offences we committed, and also by continuously chanting. So these are the 2 ways we can get free from Namaparad. So then the next stage is the third verse of the Shikshashtakam describes the next stage, which is Nishta. This is the stage of Nishta, firm faith. It's Tanada Pisanichina, Taroda Pisahishtana, Amalina Manadina, Kirtania Sadahari. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respects to others. In such a state of mind, we can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. So this stage is Namabhas stage, where the heart becomes purified. So you're not battling constantly with attachments and aversions. You're actually in the present, you can actually hear the holy name, and the heart fills with peace when you're chanting. So the stage of Nishta is that 75% of the anarthas have been removed from the heart, and we have firm faith in Krishna, we fully accept devotional service, and we get free from sinful reactions. So these are the qualities by which we can chant the holy name at this stage. We chant with humility, tolerance, respectful to others, and not expecting respect or honor. So this is the clearing stage, and the devotee on this level is deliberately trying to avoid the 10 offences. So he tries his best not to commit any of the offences. He's actually deliberately trying hard not to commit any offences, and he's trying to hear the holy name with full attention. And it's a very auspicious state because this Namabhasa will lead to pure chanting. It destroys all sins. And if you are serving the spiritual master with full attention while chanting Namabhasa, it gradually rises to the platform of pure chanting, Shuddhanam. So we can't jump from Namaparad to Shuddhanam, it's not possible. We have to go through the clearing stage. So if we have full faith in the holy name, then we will always try to endeavour to improve our chanting. And by uprooting these weeds of anarthas, and also continuously chanting with enthusiasm and faith. So these are so important that we don't lose faith, we don't lose hope, that we actually are eager to attain the goal. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he said that there's 3 things that are needed for success in chanting. So saintly association is one. So we associate with devotees, our spiritual master. We chant in front of Tulsi Devi. This is saintly association. And the second one is isolation from disturbances of mundane life. So we live in the temple, we're surrounded by devotional things, so we're not disturbed by mundane life. Or even if we're living out in the material world, away from devotees, then we can still try to not take association of those that are materialistic and keep to heeding Srila Prabhupada, our spiritual master, and devotees. And the third one is the determination, confidence, and enthusiasm. These are so important. These are the keys to pure chanting. So we're continuously chanting of the holy name gradually gives the devotee the realization that Krishna and his holy name are non-different. So these are, then we get more and more realizations of Krishna's name, form, qualities, pastimes. So this is the stage we're trying to get to. So the 4th verse of the Shikshashtakam is on the stage of
Yeah.
So the fourth verse of Shikshashtakam is the stage of ruchi or taste. It's na dhanam na janam na sundaram kavitam vajani ishakani mama janmani janmishri bhavatad bhakti avaiti kitvam. Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service birth after birth. So this shows the power of the higher taste of Krishna consciousness, that we lose all attraction from material pursuits, for name, fame, adoration, gain. So as we're getting closer and closer to Shuddhanam, we can develop these qualities. And I won't go into too much detail with the rest of the verses of the Shikshashtakam because they're on a very high level of the Shuddhanam, Bhavanam, Premanam. But as you can see, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is describing all these stages simply through the Shikshashtakam, that all these stages can be reached with different moods. And Lord Chaitanya has given us the different moods of each stage. So verse 5 is a Shakti. That's when the heart is crying with affection, by affection filled devotee hankering for Krishna. 6th verse is on Bhava, and it's the 3 sentences ecstasy felt by a Bhava Bhakta in love with Krishna. And the 7th stage is Prema, level of Prema, but it's Vipralambha, where one is feeling separation from Krishna. And the 8th verse is Prema, Sambhoga, where one is relishing the bittersweet taste of direct association with Krishna. So by following this process of chanting, one will get from Namaparad to Namabhas, then to Shuddhanam. And also each level we will realize Krishna's form. So the stage of Nishta is described that we will be able to realize Krishna's form. At the stage of Ruchi, we'll be able to realize Krishna's qualities. And in the stage of Shakti, we'll be able to realize the Lord's pastimes. And then Bhava is we will be able to understand the Lord's transcendental melodies. And Premanam is the full potency of transcendental melody. So we get higher and higher, so there's Shuddhanam and there's Bhavanam and there's Premanam. So it's all described in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's writings. So there's a whole system of how to get to Prema, and we need to follow the process really strictly, really putting all effort and being sincerely eager to desire that, otherwise it won't happen. So the point to see how we are advancing is how eager are we to serve, or do we just want to be served? So this is one way we can see how we are advancing. And how eager are we to respect others, or do we just rather want to be respected by others? And how much do I care for others, or do I mainly care for myself? So how selfish or how selfless are we? And do we become glad to see others advancing, or do we envy them? So this is another one we can see for ourselves if we're advancing. And are we fully dependent on Guru and Krishna, or is it on our own arrangements? So these questions can be our scale to see how much we're developing in humility, which is essential in developing pure chanting. So humility, tolerance, offering respect to others, not desiring respect for ourselves, being forgiving. All these are all qualities which are necessary before we can actually reach any higher stages of bhakti or higher stages of chanting. We need to have these qualities. And if we have full faith, then we'll always endeavour to improve our chanting, because we'll know that this is the goal. We'll know what the goal is, and we'll know that how to make progress. We're willing to hear about the glories of the holy name, understand the process, so we can actually apply it ourselves. Because if we don't know the process, we're not going to be able to apply it. So, according to the price one pays, so we will receive something. So that's the same with the holy name. You know, if we just have Shraddha, if we just have one paisa of faith, then we'll get this much. If we have more faith, then we'll get a higher. So it's depending on our faith. So it's not that everyone will get the same result. It's depending on everyone's faith, the level of faith that they get, what they get in return. And so the more faith we have, the more taste we'll have for chanting the holy names, the more purified we'll be of anarthas, the more wonderful qualities our heart will have. And this is the process by which we can come to that stage. So, by endeavouring to chant, trying very hard to avoid the 10 offences, we rise to the platform of Namabhas, developing qualities of humility, tolerance, forgiveness, not expecting honour, offering all respect to others, then we'll attain level of Shuddhanam, pure chanting. And then we'll be able to realise Krishna's name, form, qualities and pastimes while chanting. Like it says in this verse, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is explaining that one serves the Lord by remembering his form, his attributes and his pastimes. And that's simply possible simply by chanting the Lord's holy name because of the Lord's omnipotence. So the Lord, He will reveal to us his name, form, qualities and pastimes according to our surrender, according to how much eager we are to associate with him. So there's different ways of looking at it. There's 3 P's. We should follow the 3 P's. Does anybody know the 3 P's in chanting? John.
Posture, pronunciation, and prayer.
That's right. So of the 3, what's more important?
They're all very important.
But, of the 3, which is the most important? What do you think? Pronunciation. Anybody else?
Prayer.
Yeah, prayer is the most important because we could be pronouncing it perfectly and we could be in the perfect posture and but we could have our mind could be totally somewhere else. So we could be externally having all the pronunciation, but really it's our mood behind it. That's Krishna's trying to, he's hearing our mood. So Prabhupada says we should chant like a baby crying for its mother. So this is the mood of total dependence on Krishna. We should be chanting in that mood. So, so there's 3 P's that we should have, and then there's 3 A's that we should avoid. Anyone knows the 3 A's? There's anarthas, aparads, and avidya. So ignorance is avidya, anarthas is unwanted things in the heart, and aparads offences. So that's the 3 A's we should avoid. And there's something else. There's some other 3. I can't remember going through them. But at least we should chant in a prayerful mood. Also, Srila Prabhupada says how to improve our chanting. He says, one devotee asked Prabhupada how they could increase their desire to chant. And Srila Prabhupada says, by performing Sankirtan, just like if a man drinks and he drinks and drinks, then he becomes a drunkard. By drinking more and more, you become a drunkard. Similarly, chant more and more, and you become a perfect chanter. So that's how we do it. We just keep chanting and chanting and chanting until we get to that stage. And so the best time to chant japa is early morning during the Brahma Muhurta. So we generally chant japa at that time between 5 and 7. And we should concentrate fully on the sound vibration of the mantra. Pronounce each name distinctly. Chanting involves the upper and lower lips. Prabhupada says that we should chant distinctly using the upper and lower lips and the tongue. And it should be very distinctly pronounced and heard. And chant loudly enough for oneself to hear. And chanting should be accompanied by the 4 regulative principles. And attentive japa is bring our mind back to the whole name or wherever it wanders. So that is the difficult part, to keep bringing the mind back again and again, no matter where it goes. So the easiest way I found is by praying, because when you're chanting, and if you're praying, then it's like having a conversation with Krishna. I don't think anyone can fall asleep talking to somebody else. Has anybody ever fallen asleep having a conversation with them? I don't think so. So when we're chanting and praying, it's like we're praying to Krishna within our mind. So our mind is actually more focused, and by chanting, it kind of brings the two together, our mind and our chanting. So there's different prayers that you can chant. I personally chant a prayer for each round, a different prayer for each round, so it helps me to focus. But devotees can do it in different ways. You can chant like, please Krishna, steal my mind, deliver me from bondage and material life, please attract my heart and mind to your holy name, to your name, form, qualities and pastimes. Please purify my mind. Please make me qualified to serve you. Please make me steady in my hearing. Please give me a taste for chanting, for hearing, for glorifying you. So if we have like a discipline where we try to focus on each, focus a prayer on each round, then it helps to kind of focus the mind and keeps it from wandering around to other things. And it helps us to develop a proper mood, because that's what Krishna is looking for. You know, so many different people chant Hare Krishna, even the Mayavadis chant Hare Krishna, the Prakrita Sahajas chant Hare Krishna, so many different groups of people chant Hare Krishna. But what is their mood? That's what Krishna is looking for. You know, if our mood is that we want to become one with the Lord, then that's a different mood from a devotee. A devotee wants to serve Krishna. So our mood is that we want to serve Krishna. So this is what Prabhupada described the Hare Krishna mantra as, oh please, oh Radha and Krishna, please engage me in your loving service. That's what we're looking for. And that's what we will get in the end. That's what our aim, our goal is. The goal of pure chanting is service to Radha and Krishna, service to Krishna. So we have to keep that in mind, that all these other things, they're not very important. We need to give quality time for our japa. We need to give importance to our japa. Like if we give importance to our relationship, it'll work. If we give importance to money, it'll work. You know, whatever we put our importance or give quality time to, that's actually flourishes. So if we give quality time to our japa, if we focus on the importance of our japa, then it will become important, and then we will get the desired goal. But if we're not so eager to understand that, if we're not eager to understand, you know, how this process works, or if we're just mindlessly chanting, not got any taste, it's going to be very difficult. We're not going to experience any joy in it, and it's going to actually make it difficult for us. So we're doing to develop a taste for chanting the holy names. And as I said, praying to Krishna while we're chanting is one of the ways that we will develop this taste. Krishna is looking for how eager we are to actually associate with him through the holy names. So any questions or comments? Yes, please.
I have a question to this term, servant.
From someone?
Servant. We are servant, the servant of the servant, and so on. And when I have a look in the material world, there are often servants, for example, in a hotel, they serve the guests coming with luggage and baggage and all the bags. But in the material world, not all people are in that role of a servant. Some people that they are a boss, they are not servants somehow, they are boss. You know? And my question is, in Krishna consciousness, we have communities, we have community members. There also might not everyone be a servant. The nature, this nature has to be a servant. And so, why do you think the material world is so different from people living in Hare Krishna movement or in Krishna community? I think the human man's nature is everywhere the same. We live in a Hare Krishna community or we live in the material world. Some people, they have just this nature to be a boss, and some people have this nature to be a servant. You know what I mean?
So, what was your question? I'm trying to answer the question.
Yes, yeah. My question is there any difference between people living in a community and people living in a material world?
Well, in the material world, everyone's trying to become a boss.
Yeah.
Everyone's trying to become a master.
Yeah.
And but in spiritual life, we're all trying to become a servant.
Yeah.
A servant, a servant. So, even if we have a service to direct others, it's also service. We're also being a servant. You know, the more responsibility we have, the more service we have, the more we are a servant. It's not a position, it's a service. And it's described that just like a tree, when it's laden with lots of fruits, it actually bends down more. So that's what happens when we have more and more responsibility to devotees. It actually makes us more and more humble because we're more and more serving others. So, but in the material world, they want to become boss. I'm a boss. I'm a boss. You know, boss of the boss of the boss. So they don't have this because that's materialistic life. And this is their goal, you know, to become better than everybody else. But in spiritual life, we want to serve everyone who's better than us. And the more advanced a devotee is, the more he feels that everyone is better than him, and he feels that he should serve them. So it's inconceivable to our minds how that is possible. But that is actually the mood, because the more devotee advances, the more humble he is. So, and this is actually advancement. Advancement in material life means that you're the boss, or you're the master of the master of the master, right? But advancement in spiritual life means that the more humble you are, the more advanced you are. So it's a total opposite. So in material life, people are proud, they want to be proud of what they do, they want to be proud of themselves, and they want all the wrong things. They try to increase the envy of others, they try to become better than others, they try to... But a devotee, he doesn't have this, he's free from envy and pride, he wants to serve others, he doesn't think himself great. And he doesn't envy others, he actually glorifies them. So it's like a total opposite, diametrically opposite of material life. So and that's why there's also Varnashram, because everyone has a certain propensity. So everyone has a different propensity. Like the Kshatriya propensity is to control others and to direct others and to minister, you know. But that doesn't mean that that somebody else who's like a different service or a different propensity is any less, you know. Because the whole point of Varnashram is to please Krishna. whatever they're doing, whatever we are doing, whatever service we have, whatever propensity we have, we're supposed to be doing to please Krishna. So in that way, we're all same, because we're all trying to please Krishna. So in that way, we can respect everyone else's service that is pleasing Krishna. So that's how we should see it, that whatever they're doing is pleasing to Krishna. That's their goal. It's like, everyone can do it different ways. Some devotees cook, some devotees do the gardening, some devotees, clean the temple. Everyone's doing it to please Krishna.
There's a question online from Katie from Liverpool. Hare Krishna, can taste for japa be weakened by lack of service association? I feel a struggle since lockdown and no longer being able to serve in a temple and lack of devotee association. Can taste or japa be weakened by lack of service association?
Yeah, well, it's difficult in the lockdown because we can't, but we can still associate through, like online. We can maybe join some japa workshops, or we can try to, get some sort of association. I mean, through Srila Prabhupada's books, through lectures, through hearing, there's so many online things going on. So we can try to join some sort of Zoom japa, to help us with our chanting. But it's not just through japa, but throughout the day, if we're locked down, then we can try to do some sanghas with other devotees online. And in that way, keep up the association of devotees. Because now we've got this technology, there's no real excuse that we can't get association of other devotees. Like we can, have sanghas all over the world, with different devotees around the world through the internet, through online WhatsApp or Zoom. So we can read together, chant together, and associate in that way. He also listened to Srila Prabhupada lectures and reading his books. That's also association. We have so much at our fingertips. It's like we don't have to go searching too much to find some association. We have all the Prabhupada's books. We have so much sanghas. You can go into ISKCON Desire Tree and listen to so many different lectures. Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhagavad Gita. I mean, there's so much now that you can be inundated. It's probably that so much that you haven't got a lifetime long enough to actually listen to all the lectures. And it's actually so much. And there's so many devotees all around the world doing different Zoom sanghas. So you should just join.
It's a massive program with World Holy Name Festival online.
Yeah. So you can take advantage of that, especially if we're in lockdown. And we can't go anywhere, so we've got more chance of going online to join the World Holy Name Week. So, is there any other questions or comments? Yes.
I've got 2 questions. That's the big one. If someone's chanting Hare Krishna, they're kind of asking for some service or service mood, and then if one is chanting nicely, then surely they're going to be overwhelmed by a desire or an impetus to serve. So on some of my better experience of chanting, I get a glimpse of being overwhelmed with some amazing sort of inspiration to serve, but then that can also be a distraction from dedicating the mind all the time to just chanting and hearing the names. So I'm having a a confusion with what's the best approach for that. Because like I'm thinking that if I just ignore that impetus to or inspiration to serve that comes from chanting and hearing, then it's kind of also being inattentive, because it's just like ignoring what the inspiration is there. But then if I go with it, then it might also distract from the hearing. So it's kind of
Okay, so the question is that what if you're getting a taste for chanting, then you've been inspired to service, then we come up with ideas during japa on how to serve,
Yeah.
so that would take us away from being attentive to our japa. Yeah, because that defeats the purpose. It's like it's not like during japa we make a big list of all the wonderful things that we can do, shopping list of all wonderful things we can do, what services we can do. Yeah, it's just the mind is very, very passionate, and it'll come up with 101 the best ideas during japa. But we're not supposed to be thinking of what we're supposed to be doing next. That's what I was saying. We're not supposed to be thinking of the future. We're supposed to be in the present, now. So we're not supposed to be thinking of what we're going to do next, or what we can do next. We're supposed to be focusing on just hearing all the names and focusing on Krishna. So, and then keep those thoughts for after japa. If they come up, just ignore them or just put them aside and come back to the holy name. We have to keep bringing the holy name back, because we may not be thinking about, mundane things, but even if we're thinking of service, we're still being inattentive to the holy name. So we need to kind of keep bringing it back to hearing the holy names. And if we're praying, then we've got less likely chance of thinking of what we're going to do next, or what things we can do, because we're just trying to focus on hearing Krishna and praying to him. So I find that really helps. My personal life, I find that praying and just trying to focus on that really helps fix the mind and not all over the place.
That's really great. As when you say prayers, it's like your own prayers that you already like. Ones that are taken from verses?
Yeah, well, there's different prayers. I've got this little thing I found, I don't know, one of my books somewhere. I don't even know how it got there, but
From Shuddha Bhakti Chintamani.
So it's like each, like Hare, it says, "Oh Hare, please steal my mind and deliver me from the bondage of material life." So each name has a certain meditation, a prayer. So Jagannath can maybe let you have a look at this. And it kind of helps you to focus on Krishna, and because we're not just looking for, I want to wash the pots, or we want eternal service, so we want to dedicate our time properly during japa, so we can give quality time to Krishna. So it's we have to be more personal, not like because if the holy name is not different from Krishna, so when we're chanting Krishna's name, he's present. So are we going to ignore him and say, "Oh Krishna, I'm going to go do some service now, see you later," or I'm going to do something else? By ignoring Krishna, we're not actually going to make a lot of advancement, you see. So we really need to be careful and be focused. So, we've got hundreds of other questions.
What about the other 9 offences? When we're reading them in the morning, they're kind of like they're a philosophical, like most of them are like a philosophical deviation. So like if one knows that that's a philosophical deviation, then why would one commit that offence? Is there a tendency there? Like obviously, if one understands that the demigods are not on the level of Krishna, but also they're not independent of Krishna, then surely that's that one covered. Or is there like a tendency, like Mayavadi is a tendency Like, so we have to avoid that. But like, surely if you philosophically understand what those offences are, then why would anyone commit them? I don't really understand why we have to keep. It has to be like keep on guard from these things.
Well, some of the offences may not be so, like, I mean, some of the offences may not seem so, like, you may not commit them so easily, like blaspheming the Vedic literatures, because we all have respect, you know, the Bhagavatam, things like that. But the main ones we have to be wary of is like the first offence and the third offence. It's like blaspheming devotees, criticising devotees, and disobeying the orders of the spiritual master, committing sinful activities in the strength of the holy name, you know, maintaining material attachments, even that's the last one. Because maintaining material attachments means maintaining our ideas, our speculative ideas, or our desires, attachments. So that's very easy to do.
Yeah.
You know, so some of them may not be so prominent, but some of them very easily get committed. You know, without even, and even most of the time we don't really purposefully do it, but it just happens. You know, we end up either criticising or finding some faults with devotees and things like that. So it's very tricky. So we need to be wary of, at least if we know the 10 offences, we can guard against them. We don't even know the 10 offences, we've got very little chance. So we need to be like more, you know, deliberately trying not to commit them. You know, and because we know that they're not going to be good for our spiritual life. So we deliberately try to avoid the 10 offences. And that brings us to the point of Nalabas, because if we're deliberately trying not to commit those 10 offences, then that actually brings us to that level. Otherwise, it's very difficult to get out of the cycle of Namaparad, because we commit offences, then it's like going up and down, you know. We get, pride is there throughout all of them, you know. If pride comes up, then very easily we can fall down. You know, so we have to be really against that.
Sorry to drag up one last question regarding that. Like in Kali Yuga, there's a natural pushing towards degradation, but is there also a natural pushing towards committing the offences? Like, is there a natural energy almost that kind of draws people towards doing that, or is it just like it's kind of a safe route if you understand what the offences are?
Well, because of the pushing of Kali, you know, the state of Kali is very degrading, and it's like we're bombarded by this energy, you know, mentally, because there's so many impressions, mental impressions that we've been through, and so it has an effect. So that's why we have to be very careful. We don't get, you know, distracted. Like the internet is a mass distraction. It's like phones, computers, all this. Like they can be very useful in spiritual life, but they can also be a mass distraction, a weapon of mass distraction. So we have to be careful that we don't get caught up, you know, and go in the wrong direction. And so the 10 offences, because people are living in the material world and the propensity is to criticize, find fault. If you see on the internet, that's what it's like. Most of the people are just finding fault with other people. It's even worse now because of the internet. So this tendency is there, and so we bring it in. The baggage comes with us when we come to devotional service. So it has an effect in our spiritual, in our consciousness, in our spiritual life. So it's more difficult actually. If you were living in 500 years ago, there may have been less, you know, less propensity for these sinful activities or desires, you know, following these desires. So, but now we're living in a different age, and the mind is constantly getting bombarded by things because there's so much to see. You know, it's a lot of visual because of the internet, so much visual things. So the mind gets so many impressions. It's very difficult to free from them. So that's why better to hear, because it's less impressions in the mind than, you know, it's like visual things, it's like so many impressions. So,
yeah, so it's just would it be right in thinking that there is a kind of correlation between the Kali Yuga sort of energy and the danger of committing offences? There is a correlation. Thank you.
okay, thank you for understanding. This is also the first day of Purushottam Mass. Did anybody read about Purushottam Mass?
No, you have something?
No, but it's a very auspicious month. So it's actually considered more auspicious than Kartik. So whatever we do, we get thousands and thousands of benefit from what normally if we chanted or did that devotional service, so people devotees can take advantage of this 1 month. It comes every 3 years and it's very, very powerful, so it can help us in our bhakti. So the more we chant, and it's very good to have the Holy Name Week, the first week of Purushottam Mass, to help uplift our consciousness. And yeah, so take advantage of this month, Purushottam Mass. Thank you very much. ISKCON Govinda Ki
Jai.
Shri Bhagavatam Ki
Jai.
Shri Bhagavatam Ki
Jai. Haribol, Jagannath Priya Mata Ji ki.